My name is Paul Jewis, Chief Forester with Rainy River Forest Products for the Fort Frances region, and I'll be your host on this forest management video tour. What we'll be doing today is taking you on a video tour of our forest management activities. I've invited other representatives of our company to explain some of the different forest activities you'll be seeing. We manage over 3 million acres of forest area. We are responsible for all planning, access, harvesting, and regeneration in this area. In a normal year, we harvest trees from upwards of 20,000 acres of land. We build over 100 miles of road and plant over 8 million trees. Our total wood fiber requirements for our 2 facilities totals more than 900,000 cords annually. Well, how do we do all this? As with any business, you have to have a planning process. Dave Legg, planning forester for our Seine River Forest, will provide you with a brief overview of the planning process we use at RRFP. Hi, Dave.
Thanks, Paul. One of the first things that we must consider in making paper is obtaining the raw material, trees. With most of Ontario's forest growing on Crown land, Rainy River Forest Products entered into an agreement with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources. These sustainable forestry licenses ensure that there's a long-term wood supply for our mill. Under the Crown Forest Sustainability Act, a 20-year forest management plan must be developed, detailing the forest management activities for the first 5 years. These plans are then renewed every 5 years. Forest activities that are included within this plan include road location, harvesting areas, and forest renewal, and these will be discussed later in this video. Also included are forest modeling and the protection of other values of the forest. Computer modeling allows us to predict how forest management activities will affect the long-term health and viability of the forest. Simply, if jack pine trees are growing on 8,000 acres and take 80 years to grow, we can harvest 1/80th or 100 acres every year. While one area of the forest is being cut, another area is being renewed, tended, or the trees are just growing. After 80 years, we can then begin this cycle all over again. Although our main objective is to supply fiber to the mill to make paper, other uses of the forest are also important to Rainy River Forest Products. Guidelines for the protection of moose ensure maintenance of habitat for all seasons. For example, moose require sodium during the hot summer months, which is obtained through eating certain aquatic plants. By implementing these moose guidelines, about 80% of other wildlife species are also protected. Fish spawning sites and water quality are protected through leaving reserves of trees along the shoreline. Osprey, herons, and eagles are also protected by a zone of over half a mile from the nest. Forestry operations are only permitted at certain times of the year to ensure mating, hatching, and rearing of the young birds. Tourism operations also rely on the forest. Negotiations with tourist operators on access to the lakes, noise, and visual effects of harvesting ensure both operations can function in harmony. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Dave. Now we have an approved plan, we require access or roads to get to the trees. I've asked Don Dixon, access forester on the Manitou Forest, to describe RFP's road construction program. Are you there, Don?
Good morning. I'm Don Dixon, and I'm looking after this road construction project here. This is Carrascon South Road. This is fairly tough road construction through here. Quite a bit of rock, shallow soils, up and downhill and around.
This scene shows a backhoe building subgrade. Notice how all the merchantable timber has been removed prior to construction. And you should notice also that the stumps and logging debris are all incorporated in the subgrade. You can see the end of a culvert sticking out there. This is another location where there's an abundance of good road building material, and here the bulldozer is stripping off the stumps and debris. Sometimes we encounter serious rock problems and we have to do some drilling and blasting. This is an air track drilling the holes that will be loaded with powder. Here's Abe loading the holes with dynamite. Notice the wires in his hand there, and he's tamping the powder down into the bottom of the hole. The dynamite will be detonated electrically. It's quite a deep hole, in the order of 2 meters. Now he's putting in Amex, which is really just fertilizer. This is the Panassi River crossing. 2 large corrugated steel pipes have been placed here to handle the drainage. The road shoulder has been sloped at a 2-to-1 slope, and cobble rock has been placed around the ends of the pipes. This is being done to prevent erosion, as there is an important walleye spawning zone just downstream from this crossing.
Thanks, Don. Let's see. We have a plan, we have roads. Now we have to harvest the wood. Dwayne Colvin, harvesting forester, is standing by to show you the many ways we harvest wood from our forest area. Take it away, Dwayne.
Thanks, Paul. One of the interesting aspects of being a forester is the variety of equipment that we get to work with on a regular basis. My friend Don Dixon showed you a bulldozer, a backhoe, a rock drill. This type of equipment is an integral part of our daily work experience. As a harvesting forester, I have a whole stable full of different types of equipment, each designed for a specific purpose. Let me show you some of them.
Easy, steady, steady, steady.
Ha! And you thought I'd show you some modern piece of equipment like a feller buncher or a skidder or something, didn't you? Well, this was what logging was all about for years, even as late as the 1950s and early 60s. I'd like to introduce you to Pearl and Princess. Like all forest management techniques, logging with horses has some real advantages. The work is a little harder, but in environmentally sensitive areas, horses leave a nice soft footprint. I'll make that a hoof print. This particular horse logging operation that I'm showing you is actually a modern operation. It's taking place right today, even as we're talking. Now here's some modern logging equipment. This is called a feller buncher. It's called that because, well, that's what it does. It cuts or fells the trees and then piles them in skidder-sized bunches. This machine can cut enough wood to replace 6 or 8 men felling trees with chainsaws. That's up to about 100 cords a day. Watch how fast it can cut a tree. Now it's piling the trees so that the grapple skidder can drag the bunches to the road for processing. What are some of the advantages of a machine like this? High production of a quality product in a safe work environment, and you don't have to worry about being kicked. And this is the grapple skidder. Watch it pick up a bunch of trees and head for the road. There's about 150 horses under that hood. This one machine can outskid 10 or 12 horses. After the trees are skidded to the road, they're processed in 2 stages. The first step is the delimber. It's called the delimber because it cuts the branches or the limbs off. We foresters exhibit a real imagination when it comes to naming logging equipment. After the machine is finished taking the limbs off, it then tops the tree and places the log in a nice neat pile so that it's ready for the second stage of processing, the slasher. The slasher picks up the trees, several at a time as you can see, and saws them into predetermined lengths. If the trees are big, the slasher cuts 16-foot logs destined for a sawmill. Notice the saw moving out of the way, and he places them into the tray. The butts on these trees are big enough to be made into saw material, and so he'll cut this first section into 16-foot lengths. Here's a clam load of them now. You'll notice that he's piling them separately on one side of the road. The smaller wood will be cut into 8-foot lengths and hauled to the paper mill. If you watch closely, you'll be able to see a gate or a backstop come up, and that'll help him determine the 8-foot length. There it is now. That ensures that all the wood is cut evenly at 8 feet. And here's a clam load of 8-foot wood destined for the paper mill. It takes a lot of equipment to produce wood for our mill, or we can do it all with this one machine. This is called a cut-to-length system, sometimes called a shortwood harvester. Now this particular machine will fell the trees and delimb them and slash them all in one process. Those spiked rollers, or wheels, will pull the log through those curved arms. Watch how it takes the limbs off now. All in one smooth motion. There's a 16-foot log for the sawmill. And here's another one. And an 8-foot for the pulp mill. All in one quick, smooth process. Now a forwarder will come around and pick the wood up and haul it to the roadside, where it'll be ready for delivery. Once the wood is at the roadside, it will be hauled either to the sawmill or to the paper mill as quickly as possible to ensure a fresh product for our customer. This particular load here is headed for the pulp mill or paper mill, and the way that I can tell that, of course, is by the length of the wood. It's 8 foot. This machine is called a loader. If you look closely, it's very similar to the feller buncher or to the backhoe that Don Dixon showed you. Often the logging contractor will have only one of these machines and interchange the attachments at the end of the boom from a clam loader to a digging bucket as needed. This adds greater versatility at a minimal cost. And here's the truck headed for the mill. Well, I hope you enjoyed the harvesting portion of our tour. You got to see a lot of different kinds of equipment processing trees. If you were to take all the wood that our mills use in just 1 year and pile it 8 feet high, that pile would extend about 350 miles. That's a lot of wood. It takes dedicated men and a lot of equipment to be able to ensure that we have an adequate wood supply delivered to our mills. I'd like to thank you and turn you back to Paul.
Thanks, Dwayne. That wraps up the harvesting phase of forest management. Next up is regeneration, or getting new tree seedlings growing on the harvest areas. For that, I've asked Joan Keene, regeneration forester on the Seine River Forest, to show you how we do this. It's all yours, Joan.
Thanks, Paul. Now I'd like to take you on a tour of our regeneration program. We employ 3 main methods to regenerate our harvested sites: natural regeneration, tree planting, and seeding. Natural regen works well on certain sites, such as this poplar forest. The mature trees, once cut, are able to send up young saplings from the old root systems. This is called suckering. Basically, we let nature take its course. Other forest sites are not as easy to regenerate and require more nurturing, such as our black spruce and jack pine forests. as these forest types where most of our tree planting and seeding methods are used. Before we plant or seed, we need to prepare the ground or cultivate the soil, much like a farmer does. This is called site preparation. Let me give you a perspective on the timing of regeneration events. Site preparation occurs from May to the end of October the year after harvest. Once site prepared, the area is either seeded in April or planted during May and June of the next year. Therefore, it takes about 2 years after harvest before trees are established on a cutover and are on their way to creating a new forest. Okay, one of the pieces of equipment we use is a brachy cultivator. It's used to move the logging debris aside and expose mineral soil for planting or seeding. This is a cutover that was harvested last fall, and we typically start our site preparation in the spring. This is another piece of site preparation equipment called drags. It's a set of tractor pads with V-shaped fins welded to the bottoms of them. The fins are designed to push the debris aside and expose the mineral soil. We use this type of equipment on shallow soiled sites that we normally aerially seed. Our third piece of equipment is the disc trencher. You can see the rotating discs behind the skidder. They're designed to move the logging debris to the side and expose mineral soil for either planting or seeding. Both this piece of equipment and the brachy can simultaneously seed while site preparing. Here we are at one of our tree planting operations. We plant approximately 8 million trees annually at a price of $3 million. A tree planter's day typically starts at 5 in the morning, and they'll plant till about 6 or 7 at night. They average approximately 1,500 to 2,000 trees per day, and a planter typically earns 8.5 cents a tree. This is typically the way the trees arrive from the nursery inside a refrigerated trailer. Inside the box, we've got approximately 600 seedlings. And the trees are bundled, such as that. They're wrapped inside plastic, inside a wax-lined box. And the reason for the plastic is to prevent the tree seedlings from dehydrating inside refrigerated storage over the wintertime. Right now, I'm going to show you some different types of container stock that we produce. I have here on my left vent block 165s. These are grown in a big styrofoam block with circular cells. These particular seedlings were sown in April. They were kept at the nursery, growing until September, and they were shut down and extracted from the styrofoam blocks and placed in cold storage, which is basically a big refrigerated building inside the boxes which I showed you previously. Next door to that, we have another type of container called a jiffy. This is also a black spruce seedling. The difference with this container versus the vent block is that it's grown inside a cloth mesh, and this allows the roots to grow through the mesh so that we get nice root development all the way around the seedling. The last container I have here is called Spencer Lemaire. They're grown inside these plastic books. They just lift out like this. You get some interrooting between the different cells. This here is a jack pine seedling. And we're no longer really producing too many seedlings in this type of container. We're moving more into the jiffies and the vent blocks. And the reason for that is there's less handling of the seedlings with these other two systems. It makes a more efficient operation. Our third method of regeneration is through seeding. Right now you're looking at a 5-year-old cutover that was regenerated using aerial seeding with a helicopter. A hopper containing the seed is located inside the helicopter, and the circular plate located under the belly of the helicopter spins to spread the seed evenly over the cutover. Sometimes after natural regeneration and aerial seeding, the trees grow in too close together, so we use brush saws to thin them out. This allows the remaining trees to reach a harvestable size in a shorter period of time. This thinned out jack pine stand will be available for a commercial thinning at age 40 and a final harvest at approximately age 70. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the tour of our regeneration program. Paul?
Thanks, Joan. That covers the 4 major forest management activities. However, we still have to get the wood into the mill. When we left Duane, we had a loaded truck, such as this, heading to our mill. But prior to entering the mill, we have to scale or measure the load to see how much wood and of what species it is. A truckload is generally 20 to 22 cords, and depending if it's spruce or pine, would be directed from here to either our pulp or paper mill. Well, that concludes the video tour of our forest management activities. We have appreciated this opportunity to show you our forest management activities and encourage you to take a walk in the woods. You'll enjoy the experience.